What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I am your host, Rudy Rodriguez Show. Mind hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave y'all comments, man. This is what y'all been waiting for. This is my preview and prediction for the big game on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. The Cotton Bowl, the Miami Hurricanes against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's talk about it. Let's not waste any time. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave your comments. Shout out to our sponsor of the show, Natalie Lopez, attorney at law. When life hits hard, the law firm of Natalie Lopez hits back harder. She practices in the areas of criminal defense and family law. You can reach out to her at 954-888-8833. That's 954-888-8833. You can follow her on Instagram at NAT. That's NAT.guilty. Nat.guilty. She will fight for you. Appreciate you, Natalie, and your continued support of our show. Let's jump on in on this thing, man, because this is what we've been waiting for. We've talked about it. We've gone back and forth. The videos have been made. My content's been produced. There will be more content after this. I can promise you that. But I want to get this preview out there a couple of days before so you can all enjoy it. We can share it and get the word out. And so that all the Ohio State fans can absolutely lose their minds and go crazy because they don't like when someone disagrees with them. All right. Now that we get that out of the way, let's talk about this game. Ohio State comes in at 12-1, runner up in the Big Ten, lost their last game to Indiana 13-10. And before I did this preview, I wanted to rewatch that game. And I gotta say, you learn a lot when you really pay attention to a game and you look at coverages, you look at schemes, you look at decision making. And Ohio State remains a great team. I take nothing away from the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are led on offense by Julian Sain, who's a redshirt freshman quarterback. Julian Sain this year has the highest completion percentage in the country at 78.4% completion percentage. He threw for 3,323 yards, 31 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, got sacked 11 times, including 5 times against Indiana, a QB rating of 182.1. His leading rusher on the team is Bo Jackson. Yes, Bo Jackson, not the Bo Jackson that we all grew up watching, but Bo Jackson. Well, with 68 carries, Bo Jackson is a freshman out of Cleveland, 6', 217-pound running back, 1,035 yards this year, 6.2 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns rushing. They also got a running back by the name of C.J. Donaldson, who rushed for 10 touchdowns for them. He's more of a bruiser type of running back. And then you go over to their receivers. Obviously, we all know they are led by the one and only Jeremiah Smith, the best wide receiver in America. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pussyfoot around it. Jeremiah Smith is the best receiver in the country. And Carnell Tate, who had 48 catches for 838. By the way, Jeremiah Smith had 80 catches for 1,086 yards, along with 87, 11 touchdowns. And Carnell Tate had 9 touchdowns. They combined for 20 touchdowns. And they have a tight end by the name of Max Clare, with 43 catches for 448 yards, and he also had a couple of touchdowns. Brandon Inniss is another wide receiver for Ohio State, who is out of Plantation American Heritage. 2 of their 3 best wide receivers are out of South Florida. Ain't that something? Brandon Inniss has 32 catches for 237. He also returns their kicks. And so here we are, kicking game. Their kicker, Jaden Fielding, was 54 for 54 on extra points. He was 16-19 on field goals. He missed a huge, easy field goal against Indiana inside of a dome. An easy one inside. I think it was a 27-yarder that he missed, that he shanked left and basically choked on. I mean, you call it what it is. He choked. It was a 13-10 game. He had the game on his foot, chance to tie the game up and send it to overtime potentially, and he absolutely shanked it. Defensively now, Ohio State is elite. They are top shelf. There's no 2 ways around it. This is a top shelf defense, and they are led by a bunch of guys who are really top shelf. I mean, they got dudes upon dudes upon dudes upon dudes. I'm looking at my screen here just so I don't make any mistake on anyone's names. But they, let's see here. Let me go through the list. Their sack masters are Caleb. What the hell is his name? Caleb. I forgot it. I'm sorry, I messed it. Caden Curry. Caden Curry, number 92, big time pass rusher, 11 sacks on the season. Arvell Reese, linebacker, had 6.5 sacks, and Kenyatta Jackson had 6.5 sacks on the other side. By the way, Kenyatta Jackson, guess where he's from? Miami Gardens, Florida. Bro, I mean, their entire team is built up of dudes from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, bro. You cannot make this stuff up. Um, he went to Chaminade Madonna as well with Jeremiah Smith. I mean, so they picked up some dogs. I mean, I gotta be real. I mean, the fact that Miami let guys like this get to Ohio State pisses me off. I'm not gonna front. You know, you two of their best players are from Chaminade Madonna. Like, what are we doing? Like, we need to do better here. I mean, as Miami Hurricanes, you cannot let these guys go to Columbus. I mean, it just that shit does piss me off. Like, you want real talk? I don't pull punches. Pisses me off to lose both those guys to Ohio State. Now, whew, they all, I mean, as far as the rest of their defense, the next best sack guy is Caden McDonald, who had 3 sacks. He's a defensive tackle. And then you move into the areas of where are they? You move into the areas of pass defense. They are led by Caleb Downs, who is an elite safety, All-American level safety. He led the team with 2 interceptions. And then you also had Jermaine Matthews with 2 interceptions and Davison Igbinunsun, who had 2 picks. Uh, when you look at the defense for Ohio State, they don't blitz a ton, not from what I saw on video, because I watched a few of their games. I just finished watching. Like I said, I was going to watch the Indiana game again before I did this video because I wanted to be fresh in my mind. They don't blitz a ton, not from what I saw, and they rely on front four pressure, seemingly to me. And if you are an Ohio State fan, you want to correct me on that, feel free to do so because that's your team, not mine. But they finished with 33 sacks. They had eight interceptions, which is not a lot for a team of that level to be ranked so high. And it also explains a little bit why they don't score 50 plus points again because they don't force a ton of turnovers. They haven't forced a ton of turnovers, but they are rock solid defensively. They don't blow assignments all that often. They are really, really technical and disciplined, and you have to give them credit for where they are really, really strong. And when you're disciplined and when you don't leave your assignments, you are going to be a great defense. I mean, assignment football and discipline and defense is absolutely critical. They are a smart defense. They make plays. They wrap up. They tackle well. This is a great, great defense. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. They're number one defense in the country for a reason in yardage and points. But guess what? It's one football game. And they played a game against Indiana where they were number one and Indiana was number two, and Indiana beat them. So fumbles wise, they've forced 6 fumbles this season. So when you look at the comparisons of the defenses and all that, I mean, right now we have it is something that I saw a lot of on film, and is that they will between the 40s they will chuck it. They look to go deep in between the 40s. That and it's funny because I watched one game where Joel Klatt flat out said it, and literally the next play they threw it deep for a touchdown to Carnell Tate. That was actually against Penn State. So it was funny as hell that he said it. And yeah, I am stealing what he said because when I watched them play, I saw similar stuff where they were more likely to throw the ball deep when they were in between the 40s. And the fact that he said it and then very next play, they threw it deep to Carnell Tate for a touchdown. I mean, it was like that, bro. So yeah, they are going to chuck it deep, especially in between the 40s. They are a team that likes to take. They like to throw the ball deep. I've also saw a lot of short passing game, 3-step drop bomb. It wasn't like it was like 3-step drop. Boom. It was so Miami has to be aware of everything that this team does offensively. They're going to have to absolutely get pressure on Julian Sain. The one thing that I saw with Julian Sain against Indiana is that yeah, they kept him in the pocket, and he doesn't really want to run. He doesn't like to run. And they brought him down 5 times, but they had intense pressure on him the entire game. They probably could have brought him down more than that. So when you put him under pressure, he is going to make mistakes. He did not have a very good game against Indiana. I mean, the final numbers say they threw for 258 in that game, but the reality was if you watched it, I mean, realistically, he threw for about 200 because the last pass of the game went for like 50 yards or something like that, 210. The last pass went for like 50 yards with no time left. So yeah, that was really like a chunk of nothing. So, and realistically, Indiana held them to under 200, under 300 yards of offense outside of that play, which obviously was completely irrelevant to the final score, but it does put stats up there and tell you that they had 322 yards total offense against Indiana, but realistically it was more like 270. Yeah, whew, got all that out, man. Look, team is good. I mean, and I'm not sitting here bullshitting. They're good, man. They're hella good. And the biggest thing as far as for the Miami Hurricanes, the Miami Hurricanes played, much more recently. Hurricanes coming off of a huge road win in front of 110,000 people. They dealt with a huge crowd disadvantage, and they're not going to have that disadvantage in the Cotton Bowl. It's probably going to be about 50-50, 60-40. It will not be a one-sided fan base in that building. It's going to be packed with Hurricanes fans, packed with Ohio State fans. It's going to be both. You're going to see a lot of fans from both sides. So you're not going to see the overwhelming noise that goes against the team when they're on the road. Now, I saw a lot of short passing from Julian Saint, a lot of crossing, a lot of short outs. I will say the one ball that I noticed that Julian Saint throws exceptionally well is the back shoulder throw. I mean, he throws that back shoulder throw on point. That back shoulder throw with him and Jeremiah Smith is freaking deadly. Like you have got to be prepared for that. Then again, Jeremiah Smith is blistering fast, so you can give him, space, and he still has the ability to blow by you. He has been a guy that's been pretty much impossible to stop, even against Indiana. He had 8 catches for 144 yards. I mean, so you're literally talking about 2/3 of their offense, passing wise. And the Miami Hurricanes will have to make a decision. Do you bracket Jeremiah Smith? Do you double Jeremiah Smith and try to basically make, I mean, Cardinal Tate beat you? That is the question. And I thought Miami did that pretty well against Casey Concepcion. They made him very, very insignificant. Mario Craver made the only big play for them on a broken coverage. Miami has to be aware that they're going to throw this ball deep, and they will throw it deep multiple times. I mean, I counted probably if I'm going off memory now. They threw that ball deep downfield probably 5-6 times against Indiana. They completed at least a couple of them. There was one to Smith. No, there was one to Tate. There was one to Smith. So they completed at least two of them, two big chunk plays. They didn't run the ball. I mean, Indiana held them to their worst rushing game in 14 years. 58 yards rushing. They shut them down on the ground. And that's going to be an absolute key to this game. If Miami can shut down that running attack the way they shut down that running attack with Texas A&M, it's going to make it a lot easier for Miami to just pin back their ears and go after Julian Saint. You look at defensively, just as a comparison, Miami's defense has 41 sacks. Miami's defense has how many? 14 interceptions. Miami's defense has 9 fumble recoveries. So you're talking about 23 turnovers to 14. So there's a +9 difference between the two teams in turnovers. Miami's a +8 on sacks. Miami sacks, though, come from a variety of areas. So you're going to, I mean, Ruben Bain had 7.5 sacks. Akeem Mesdor led the team with 8.5 sacks. But you know who was third on the team in sacks? Keontae Scott. When Keontae Scott blitzes, he typically gets his guy. Another guy with sacks, Jacoby Thomas, 3.5 sacks. When he blitzes, he usually gets his guy. Julian Saint is not going to be able to escape when those two guys blitz. Another one, you got Ahmad Moulton with 4.5 sacks from the defensive tackle position. That's pretty freaking impressive. 2.5 from Armando Blunt. Again, Miami's got 41 sacks. So Miami gets to the quarterback. They get to the quarterback. That's over 3 sacks per game. Had 7 sacks of Marcel Reed in the game against Texas A&M, a guy that had been sacked only 10 times the entire season. So Miami got to him 7 times in a game when he had only been sacked 10 times all year. So you got to be Ohio State. And Ohio State's offensive line is not nearly as good as Texas A&M's offensive line. I'm not making it up. It's a fact. So, and to see what Indiana did against their offensive line and getting to the quarterback over and over and over and over again, that is going to be a huge component to this game. And that also, the running attack is part of it. Like if you go look at Indiana, Indiana had 39 sacks, and that includes that game. So Miami's got more sacks than Indiana, Actually, Indiana has a little bit more, few more turnovers for us. They had 25 turnovers for us to Miami's 23. So you have two defenses that are very, very strong, and Miami's defense is probably more athletic. I think most people would agree with that. Most people would agree that Miami has probably the best defensive front in the country. Most people would agree that Miami probably has one of the best offensive lines in the country and has a better offensive line than A&M and a better offensive line, especially after you saw them play each other, and a better offensive line the than Ohio State. They shut down Texas A&M's vaunted pass rush. Cassius Howell was basically insignificant and invisible. The only two sacks they got came off blitzes from non-defensive linemen. So, and Miami played pretty much a clean game, other than the fumble by Malachi Tony in the fourth quarter. Carson Beck did not throw any picks. So you have a game right here. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. Miami's going to be in for the fight of their lives. It's going to be a fight. This is going to be a street fight level game. They're going to, this is, Miami is not an, I mean, people want to call Miami an ACC team. Fine. Miami's in the ACC, man. Miami's, Josh Pate put it the best. Miami has creatures. Like Miami's defensive line is awesome. It's one of the best I've seen in years from them. I mean, they're awesome. The defense is swarming. It's violent. It's aggressive. I saw Indiana. They were swarming the crap out of everything Ohio State did. They were all over the place. That's how Miami has to play. Miami has to play this game exactly how it played against Texas A&M. It's very, very simple. It's not a complicated situation. Shut down the run. Shut down the run and make Julian Sane beat you with his arm, but make him beat you to one side of the field. If you can find a way to slow down Jeremiah Smith this year has been absolutely unbelievable. You know, he's unbelievable as it is. But Jeremiah Smith, dude, you go look at this man's numbers. I think he's only had 3 or 4 catches in 2 games. Let me see. Let me just be specific. 3 catches versus Michigan, again, in the 27-9 win, 4 against UCLA. But other than that, he's never had less than 5 catches. And even in one of those games, he had 119 yards on 5 catches. So he is a big play threat. You know, he has a lot on this game mentally. This is something that's going to be huge for him. He is coming. I expect him to come out like a demon. I expect that man to be so prepared to play and ready to go and ready to try to take people's throats. It would not shock me at the very least if Ohio State on the first play of the game, whenever they get the ball, whether it's first possession or after a defensive possession by Miami, that they don't try to throw that ball deep. It would not shock me even if it's outside the 40. I think Ohio State wants to test Miami's defensive backs. They want to see what Miami's defensive backs have. And about the only way, it's really hard to march the ball down the field on Miami's defense. So you have to get them with chunk plays. I think the same can be said for Ohio State. You have to get them with chunk plays. You're not going to march. I don't anticipate 13 play drives for 80 yards with Miami against Ohio State. Miami's going to have to get some chunk plays. Like they're not going to be able to just march it down the field and knock them off the ball. Like it's not going to be that way. They're better defense than Texas A&M. I do expect to see, though, more of the pistol formation with Mark Fletcher hitting that A and B gap and trying to chunk them up. I watched Indiana get some of that done against them. They did get some of that done against them. They hit those pistol-like formations and they hit the holes hard. Their leading running back had 16 carries for 69 yards. It wasn't a truckload, but he got yards, man. And they rushed the ball for 118 yards against Ohio State. So they established some level of a running attack. Well, Ohio State couldn't establish any running attack. That's a key to the game, obviously. The running attack for Miami is huge. That's what's going to open up things for Carson Beck. This whole mentality that Carson Beck can't beat you with his arm, I think that's complete crap. What Carson Beck can't do is he can't have having 3 guys up in his chin the entire game, and that's what running the ball does. Is it kind of alleviates that pass rush and allows him some time to throw the football. The offensive line for Ohio State gives Julian Sane time to throw. I've seen it. I mean, I watched it. He gets time to throw those 15 to 25 yard routes. He gets time to throw those deep balls, and he throws a bunch of them. Mind you, Indiana was all over his ass, but he did still have plays where he was downfield. I will say this: Fernando Mendoza had a lot of opportunities to chunk Ohio State up, and he just made bad throws. He finished 15 to 23, but he missed on throws that should have been big plays. There was one early where he just completely underthrew his guy by like 2 yards. And it was just like, bro, you have to make a better throw than that. And that's for Carson Beck. You got to make a better throw. You have to chuck that ball. You have to get that ball on the line. You can't let balls hang in the air. Touch is great if you're wide open, but if you're not wide open, if you have 2 yards in gap, you have to freaking get that thing like a bullet out there. It has to be a quality strong throw. But those throws are there. They were there. Indiana had those opportunities and they did not convert. I think they converted on one or two, but they had a bunch in this game where, I mean, it was like Mendoza just missed. He threw a pick early on the game that could have been, I mean, it did cost them a touchdown. It was a terrible, terrible decision, terrible read. I mean, when you think about it, Ohio State really did nothing offensively. That's how crazy that was. That one play where they picked off Mendoza, I think it was like the 20-yard line. Yeah, bro. 3 plays later, it was a touchdown for Ohio State, and that was their touchdown. 3 plays, 25 yards. That's all they did. They did have that long drive that in the fourth quarter where they missed the field goal and shanked it, but Indiana also missed an easy field goal themselves. So it kind of balanced itself out with the field goals. Field goal game is going to be big. Miami's going to have to make their field goals. I mean, I don't worry about Carter Davis really. That wind last week was terrible. He's playing in controlled conditions and environment this time. So I expect him to make his shots, make his field goals. This is not going to be a high scoring game. I'm not going to sit here and pussyfoot around with you and tell you that Miami's going to win this game 38-10. Like, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. And yeah, I did pick Miami to win by 17 last week, 34-17 over at A&M. I did pick that. I didn't expect to be 30-mile-per-hour wins. I mean, I'm just being real. So I also didn't pick A&M to only have 3 points. So, but it also showed how good Miami's defense is, to being able to shut down Marcel Reed and dominate them defensively on the road, forcing 3 turnovers. And turnovers are obviously going to be a huge thing. But another big thing, like I will always say, is penalties. Miami has to be clean penalty-wise. They cannot commit dumb penalties. They cannot commit pre-snap penalties. And defensively, they have to be clean. No pass interference, no holding. Don't allow drives to continue because you make a mistake. But I will say this: if they beat you deep, fucking take them down. Take them down. Give up the 15. I'd rather give up the 15 than the 60. Like, just being real. You don't want to get beat deep. So, and those chunk plays are the ones that will kill you. I've seen a lot of Ohio State, very, very aggressive. Like I said, very disciplined. But Miami can beat this team. This team is beatable. They only scored 10 points against Indiana. Miami has a defense that is very similar to Indiana's. They are very aggressive. They swarm. They're violent. They hit hard. They're going to make Julian Saint feel every hit he gets. He's going to feel it. And remember, he is still a redshirt freshman. You can sit here and say, oh, he's at the end of his year. He's a redshirt freshman. He is starting his 14th college football game. Carson Beck is starting his 41st. Like this, there's a massive difference in experience here. And I mean, there's a big difference between Julian Saint and Will Howard. Will Howard was mobile as heck. Saint is not. I would tell you right now, if Miami was playing against Will Howard, I'd be a lot more nervous about it. Even though Miami's been dominant against mobile quarterbacks, Will Howard's also a lot more experienced than Julian Saint. That experience matters, man. You can't ignore experience. Experience matters. But like I said, Ohio State's an elite defensive team. They're a good off. They're, like I said, Miami and Ohio State, they're very similar. If Miami had not lost their games to SMU and Louisville, for which we all know that Miami's better than both of those teams, if Miami had not lost the games, people would be sitting here. First of all, this would not be a quarterfinal game, but at the same time, no one would be sitting here acting like no one would say Miami should be a 10-point underdog. The fact that Miami is a 10-point dog right now is absolutely nuts. Still 9.5 is crazy to me. The line is absolutely insane to me. Carson Beck has been very clean with the ball over the last 5 games. I expect nothing less from him. Malachi Tony's they're gonna have to get him the ball in a variety of ways. I don't want to see a lot of trick plays early on, please. Mind you, Ohio State did run some trick plays against Indiana, but I don't want to see trick plays. Like the trick play thing, allow your team offense to establish itself before you move into that area where you might do something like gimmicky and shit like that. Do not allow yourself like the game against Texas A&M. A lot of that crap was gimmicky as hell, and 10 plays of the first 40 or 45 plays were 40 plays were basically gimmick plays. Allow Carson Beck to get in the groove. Miami has to throw the ball deep. Like there's nothing about it. Miami has got to throw the ball deep. Those plays are there. Indiana exposed those plays. They were there the entire game. They had opportunities. I don't care how good their DBs are. I don't care how smart Caleb Downs is. They can get beat deep, and they did get beat deep by Indiana. They did. And the only other times they didn't was because the ball was underthrown. He never overthrew anybody. He underthrew everything that did not get completed because those guys were wide open by 2 or 3 yards. So, coaching, this is where I get nervous. This is my nervous spot, is Shannon Dawson has a tendency to get in his own head. He allows mistakes to cloud his judgment. He allows mistakes to impact what he calls. And I don't want to see that happen. If something happens, you have to brush it off and keep on playing. You cannot change your game plan or change your game call because of X, Y, or Z. If you make a mistake, if something happens, if Beck throws a pick, you can't just say, "Oh, we're not going to throw the ball anymore because Beck threw a pick." Or if someone fumbles the ball, we're not going to do this anymore because of this. Or if we cannot have that happen. Like, that cannot happen. He has to maintain himself and not psych himself out. Folks, he flat out said he basically had plays affect him in that game. Like, it's weird, man. It's weird. Corey Heatherman, I'm sure was going to have this team dialed the hell up. Defensively, these guys are going to be ready to go. You know they are. I don't see anyone blowing anybody out here. That 10-point number is massive to me. If it gets covered, I'd be absolutely shocked. I mean, if it got covered, it'd be like 10-0, bluntly, or 20-10. Like, that's about the only way it gets. It's not going to be some blowout type situation. But I don't think that's going to be a problem for Miami. I think Miami's offense is going to be a lot better. I think Carson Beck's going to be a lot better than he was at Texas A&M because the wind will not be a factor in this game. And Miami's defensive line has got to set the tone early. Miami has to score early. I'm going to be real. Miami has to score early. If you watch the Ohio State Indiana game specifically, I mean, Julian Sain struggled, bro. He struggled. Outside that one drive in the fourth quarter, they didn't do anything on offense. They didn't do a thing on offense. I mean, their offense was bad. I mean, it was bad. Like, you can sit here and say what you want. I mean, they finished with 322 yards, bro. They had 50 yards on one play at the end of the game. That didn't matter. They led 10-6 at halftime and fell behind 13-10 at 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they didn't do a damn thing with the ball after that, before that or after that. In fact, this is their drives in the second half. 5 plays, 11 yards, 12 plays downs. And they got stuffed at the 4-5 yard line on a 4th and 1. I thought that was a major mistake. You kicked the field goal. It's a stupid decision down 13-10 to go for it right there. And this was a really, really low possession game. And then they missed the field goal, and then they had the end of the game. So, it was a very, very, I mean, a lot of chunk clock. It's funny because this is kind of how Miami plays. This game was a slower pace game. Indiana had the ball 6 times, really 5 times in the first half. They had it 3 times in the second half, and they scored 1 touchdown. And Ohio State had the ball in the first half 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. They had 8 possessions. I mean, both teams are like 8, 9 possessions. This is a low possession game. A lot of, I mean, you look at these drives. I mean, you're talking about 4.5 minutes, 3:45, 7:21, 6:28, 5:49, 7:57. There's a lot of minutes being eaten up here, and there was only a turnover each way, and yeah, it was one of those types of games where low possessions and a lot of nothing. A lot of nothing. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 punts, 2 missed field goals. Yeah, that's the type of game Miami plays. Believe it or not, for those that don't know, that's the game that Miami plays. So if you have an 8 possession game each way, that's the game that Miami really wants to play. That's how they play like that way all year. So it's a matter about being effective and executing. Look, this is not going to be a high scoring game. It's not. But like I said, I do have concerns about Shannon Dawson. But if I'm Ohio State, I have concerns about the fact that I'm now changing my play caller. I had my play caller as Brian Hartline all year, and now I got Ryan Day and a crew of guys calling the game because he said it. There's a bunch of us, and we'll be on the headphones to each other and stuff like that. I mean, there's me like it's like a play calling by committee. I don't know what his thought process is, and we'll see if we see anything massively different between the Indiana game and this game. I'm sure you'll see some wrinkles. I'm sure Miami's going to have plenty of wrinkles. It's going to be fun, man. Miami hasn't been here in a long time. As a program, it's a big. Miami's got nothing to lose. It's a big game, but Miami's got nothing to lose in this game. And when you have nothing to lose and everybody is counting you out and you're a 10-point underdog, which is inexplicable. Like I expected it to be somewhere around 4 and 5 points. It's inexplicable to be a 10-point underdog. And Miami doesn't like being disrespected. Miami doesn't take well to being disrespected. Miami's been an underdog twice this year. This game and last game. Because Miami was favored in 3 games. They were underdogs against Notre Dame and A&M. So the 2 games in which they were underdogs going into, they won. They were favored in every other game. They did lose 2 of those games, but they were favored in every other game. The 2 games that they were dogging, they won. Here's their 3rd game. Time to go for that trifecta. So I think coming out strong is going to be very important for Miami. I think scoring early is going to be important for Miami. I think it's important for both teams, but I think it's even more important for Miami. I think Carson Beck getting a groove is going to be really, really important for the Canes. And, of course, establishing the running game. But I'll tell you right now, God, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I'm not nervous. Of course I am. I'm a fan. I'm nervous. I'm gonna be sitting on the edge of my seat the entire game. We will be live at 7:30 on Wednesday night, so make sure you're there to check it out, the live broadcast. Prediction. Dun, 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 dun. I'm back and forth on the scores because I know that Miami settles for field goals a lot. and that's one of the things that gnaws at me is that we get in these situations where we kick field goals when we probably could have scored touchdowns or should have scored touchdowns. So it won't be a typical score. I like Miami 16-10. 16-10. Nah. 2013. I don't think Miami holds them to 10 points, but 2013. 20-13 Miami. It's going to be a low-scoring affair. Miami will get a couple of field goals. They'll get a couple of field goals, and we'll have 1 extra touchdown than they will. And that's that. That's it. And Carson Beck will outplay Julian Sane. Carson Beck will outplay Julian Sane. And Miami will find a way to slow Jeremiah Smith down a little bit. So he won't be busting out a 100-yard game. That's it, man. 20-13 Miami. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. I'm sure the Ohio State fans are going to be all over my shit, giving their predictions of 38-7 and shit like that. Miami Hurricane fans, what do y'all think? What do y'all think this number will be for this game? Leave it in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Remember, Hurricanes Unfiltered tonight, 9 p.m. Let's talk about it. Appreciate y'all. This is Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.